Okay. Is this thing on? I think so. Okay, yeah, I see blue lights. Um, this is pre-algebra. Welcome. Welcome to pre-algebra. So we're going to be using a textbook that is called, let's see, what is it? It is Advanced 1 CC Common Core. And then there's an Advanced 2. So we're going to start kind of in the middle of Advanced 1 because since you're in pre-algebra, you've already done Math 7 or whatever it was that came before. And that's what this book starts with in Chapter 1. So I am not, what was that? The news. So I am not starting on Chapter 1, or not going to do anything between 1 or 5 unless necessary. I'm starting here, Chapter 6, integers. Do you know what an integer is? Okay, well, let's take a look at what we have here. The essential question: how can you represent numbers that are less than 0? So our first vocabulary word of the chapter section is positive numbers, and they are greater than 0. They can be written with or without a positive sign or a plus in front. So you could say plus 1's positive 1, or just simply 5 is a positive 5. Here's a plus 20 or 10,000. Any number with a plus sign in front of it or nothing in front of it is positive. Okay, so the second vocabulary word in this chapter is negative numbers, and they are less than 0. They will be written with a negative sign in front. Okay, they do a little differently in, let's see, if you're going to be in bookkeeping, they use parentheses, but that's a whole different topic. All right, so anyway, -1, -5, -20, -10,000. So you always put a negative sign in front of negative numbers. Two numbers that are the same distance from 0 on a number line, but not opposite sides of 0, are called opposites. But on opposite sides of 0, they're called opposites. So in other words, here is 1. It is 1 to the right of 0. So if I went 1 to the left of 0, its opposite is negative of the same number, -1. Opposite of 2 is -2, and as they showed here, 4 and -4 are opposites. So two numbers that are the same distance from 0. So 4 is 4 to the right, -4 is 4 to the left. That's the same distance from 0, but on opposite sides are called opposites. The opposite of 0 is 0. Okay, 0 is neither negative nor positive. It is just 0, and the opposite of 0 is itself. Okay, so that's the key idea here. So integers, words, graph. Integers and words are the set of whole numbers and their opposites. So I'm not going to discuss all the number sets here, but I will do that in class. Okay, so here is what we're doing in chapter 6.1. Okay, so since you're new at this, I've been doing this now for several years, making video lessons, and here's how it works. So now here's example 1, and we're going to do this. I'm going to explain this to you. And then over off to the side here are in parentheses 3 numbers. Well, these are the homework numbers that I assign to you that pertain to this type of question. Example 1, after I give you that example, you should be able to do these homework problems, okay? So here we go. Example 1, writing positive and negative integers. It says write a positive or negative integer that represents the situation. A contestant gains. Timeout. I like using highlighters. There's the key word to this problem. Gains 250 points on a game show. Okay, so they're playing some game show on TV and they gain 250 points by doing something or answering a question. So how can we represent that? Well, we can either write it as a positive 250, or I could say positive. Remember, we can use a plus sign in front of positive numbers. Positive 250. Okay, so there it is. The key word there was gains. All right, now the next time we're going to do B. It says gasoline freezes at 40 degrees below 0. All right, so again, we have the number 40, but the word below 0 means negative. Okay, so negative 40. All right, so now you should be able to do problems 8, 10, and 12 in your exercises. Okay, number 2 is graphing numbers, graphing integers. So it says to graph each integer and its opposite. So let's highlight that. So graph each integer and not just not and or and its opposite. Graphing an integer and its opposite. All right, so how are we going to do that? Well, here's how I want you to do it. I think it is really important in math to do stuff really neatly. So in your list of things you need for class, your binder and everything, I asked that you had a ruler. So there's a nice straight line. So you draw a nice straight line with arrows at both ends, and we're going to put 0 in the middle. That's how you start this number line. All right, I'm going to use green for positive and red for negative. So if this was a mark, they have to be equal distance apart. So let's do that. I erased my 0 by mistake. So if I bring my ruler up now and just set it down like this and put a mark right at 1, right at 2, right at 3, and right at 4, then I'm being accurate. Okay, so I'm attending to precision. That is one of the mathematical practices. So then when I put this right here, then I'm going to go over 1, 2, and on each number put a mark so they're all equally separated. And then I'm going to label this 1, 2, 3, and 4, and -1, -2, -3, and -4. Okay, so there is how you create the number line. And then what we need to do is then graph these. So where is 3? Well, it's right here. So to graph it, you just put a dot right on 3. And it says to graph its opposite. Well, 3 is 1, 2, 3 units to the right. So 1, 2, 3 to the left is its opposite, -3. And there's the dot. So you don't need to draw these, but I just wanted to point that out to you. All right, so there is graphing a number, an integer, 3, and its opposite. Okay, so let's try that again. Now we're going to graph -2. So I'm going to first start off by drawing a nice straight line with a ruler, put arrows at each end, which means they go on forever, both directions, put 0 in the center, and then use the ruler. I'm just going to put number 4 right on the 0 here. And I'm going to go over to 5, over to 6, over to 7, over to 8, and 3, and 2, and 1. I prefer metric over the US standard measuring system. But anyhow, so there it is. And so now I'm going to put my negatives in red. -1, -2, -3. And I'm missing one of my marks. Doesn't matter because I'm at beyond the number they were asking for, but I'll put it anyway. And -4, and it continues forever. That's what this arrow means. To the right, I'm going to mark 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're going to graph. The number is -2, which is right here. So you put a dot at 2, -2, and it's 2 away from 0. So I'm going to go 2 to the right of 0, and its opposite is +2. So I've graphed -2 and its opposite. So now you should be able to do problem numbers 16, 18, and 20 in your exercises. Okay, example 3 is a real life application. Okay, so let me get my highlighter because I want to mark things. You deliver flowers to an office building. Okay, so you are a person who works for a flower shop and you're delivering flowers to an office building. You enter at ground level. So there's our first key. You enter at ground level. So you walk in off the street, you're on the ground floor in the lobby, and it says you go down 2 floors to make the first delivery. Then you go up 7 floors to make the second delivery. Write an integer that represents each position. Okay, so go back to my pen, make it green. So you enter at ground level. What integer are we going to use when we're on the ground floor? Well, it's going to be ground 0. Okay, that's a term, ground 0. And you go down 2 floors. Well, down is negative. So you're going down into the bowels of the building, -2, 2 levels below the ground. Usually that's a parking garage, but anyhow. And then it says you go up 7 floors. So the key here is up, go up. This one was go down. Up is positive, down is negative. So this is going to be a +7 or just 7, depending on which you prefer. Okay, so there it is. It says write an integer that represents each position. We've done that. 0, -2, and 7. And actually, I'm just going to erase this and delete that. And there was what was showing in the book. Okay, so now it says write an integer that represents how you return to ground level. Okay, use a number line to model your movement as shown. So we're doing this right now. So the first thing we want to do is begin at our starting point, ground level. So we are starting right here. Okay, so I'm going to put a dot there. Here's how we entered. We got here. All right. And it says you entered at ground level. We entered, we're right here. And we went down 2 floors. So I will use red for down again. And I'll use an arrow. So let's make it a little thicker, one end, and make it red. And we're going to go from here. Okay, how about this one? I did the wrong thing. Do that and make it red. And we're going to start at 0 and we're going to go down 2 floors to -2. And I'll put a red dot there for where we ended up. So we're on the -2 floor below the ground level to deliver our first bouquet of flowers. All right. Then you go up 7 floors. So now I'm going to switch to my arrow again. I'm going to make it green. And I'm at this -2 floor. I have to go up 1, 2, back to where we started, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we are on the 5th floor now. So I'm going to put a dot there, which is where we ended up. And I'll use blue because it says to go up 7 floors and it's in blue. So I'll keep the same colors. And then I'll go back to my blue pen. And this is where we end up to deliver the second bouquet. Okay, does that make sense? So we entered on the ground floor. We went down 2 to make our first delivery, and then we went up 7 to make our last delivery. So we use a number line to model our movement as shown. And the second delivery is on the 5th floor. You must go down 5 floors to return to ground level. So what they're saying here is, if we want to leave the building now, we must go down, back down to 0 to get out. Okay, and I should have had that blocked out because it showed the answer. But anyway, we're doing it together anyhow. So now in your homework, you should be able to do problem number 30. Okay, so that brings us to the end of chapter 6.1, our first lesson together. And I just did a small set of numbers to practice, and I will probably have you do these right in class. So here they are. And thanks for watching and have a great day.